This beauty has the power of invisibility, and has a state-of-the-art mechanical prosthetic body. She is the policewoman Motoko. In 6 years' time, schools all over the world will disappear completely. People will no longer have to study long hours to acquire knowledge. Instead, it will be fed directly into the brain via a data cable. When you get lost in a strange place, simply connect to a terminal and download a map. Immediately you'll become as proficient as the locals. Perhaps these settings is not unusual for us nowadays. It was in an animated film from 1995. Back then, there was no navigation software. At that time, with all these fantastical settings, it was once thought to be a film that transcended time and space. And it was Ghost in the Shell. His story takes place 6 years later in 2029. Technology was already highly advanced. Not only can human limbs be replaced with mechanical prostheses, even the internal organs can be replaced by mechanical ones. Even the human brain can be converted into a cyber brain. This is also called the ultimate form of humanity. At this point, humans will no longer be sick, but it will be invaded by a Trojan horse. Once poisoned, we would have to open our skulls, take the brain out and kill the virus. Otherwise, the whole person will be controlled by the hackers. On that day, a report was received by Public Security Section 9. A diplomat's brain had been hacked. A diplomat is the spokesman for his country, the firewall in his brain. No ordinary hacker can crack it. Only an extremely powerful puppeteer could do it. Over the years, the puppeteer has committed many crimes and never been caught. This time, he had to be caught, so Public Security Section 9 immediately sent Motoko to investigate. Motoko's entire body is covered in the most advanced mechanical prosthetics available today. In order to improve the brain's calculation power, only a very small part of his self-awareness was retained. They tried to catch the puppeteer through the virus signal source, only to find that the signal source was not constant. On average, it shifts every 7 minutes. Bateau rushed to the location of the most recent signal. It turns out to be a public phone booth. Suddenly an old man comes out to take out the trash. He found out from him that the rubbish truck passes by here every day at this time. The puppeteer must be hiding in the rubbish truck. That's why he's changing his launch site so often. When Motoko learned of this, he immediately asked headquarters for a map of the city. 4 data cables were inserted into the back of his neck. A map of the entire city came into view. Immediately, the best route to intercept the rubbish truck was mapped out. Motoko rushes to tell Bateau to go to the next location, but the puppeteer acted as if he had been informed in advance. The next target was abandoned. He accelerated and tried to escape. Motoko immediately takes over control of the car. Read the driving experience of an old driver on the internet, chasing after the rubbish truck, turning the corner and about to catch up. Suddenly a man in front of them, shooting at them in a frenzy. Was the puppeteer not a man? Was it a group? At that moment Bateau came along, but he had put on his cloak and disappeared. How could there be stealth technology? Stealth technology is a special technology that can only be used by the Ministry of Public Security. What's behind this puppeteer? Motoko vowed to find out, so she ran after him, but in the blink of an eye, he had already disappeared into the crowded marketplace. In such an environment, to find an invisible person, it was too difficult. Luckily, Bateau has modified his eyes with technology. If look closely enough, can spot him. After learning that the marketplace is no longer safe, the man had to run away. He was spotted by Motoko, who was on the roof of the house. The shot took out his stealth technology. After losing his disguise, Motoko soon caught him. However, the two men discovered the man didn't even know his own name. He's just a puppet whose brain was hacked by a puppet master, but he was convinced that what he was doing was right. This is the biggest problem with cyberbrains. When invaded by a virus, whether it's a virtual experience or a dream, once the brain recognizes it as existing, it's a reality for him. Looking at the prisoner in the interrogation cell, Motoko couldn't help but ponder. Her whole body is full of technological machinery. If she didn't still have an ounce of will, she wondered if she was still human. If one day this remaining trace of will is swallowed up, what would become of her then? Whenever she was troubled like this, Motoko would drink to drown his sorrows. But every time he drinks a can, the mechanism in his body would break down the alcohol in 10 seconds. It's hard to get drunk when people thought the puppeteer was hiding, but a few days later, Public Security Section 9 found a naked woman on the main road. After taking her back to the lab, they found that she was just like Motoko. The whole body is a state-of-the-art mechanical prosthetic, except she didn't go from human to robot. It's a robot through and through. But the strange thing is, scientists scanned her brain and found that she has developed the ability to think like a human. This means that a bunch of machines with no temperature produced a soul. So is he still a robot or not? But in any case, no, he's a state-of-the-art mechanical prosthetic. This is a clue, because in the current market, there is only one company that produces such advanced mechanical prostheses, so the Motoko trio prepared to go to the company to investigate. But no sooner had they left, they were approached by officers from Section 6 of the Public Security Bureau. They said they were ordered by their superiors. They wanted to take the robot away. When the scientists accompanying Section 6 were conducting a routine inspection, they were surprised to find that inside this body, the puppeteer's signal was present, and it's still being sent out. The lab had already cut off her reception path. Where did the puppeteer's signal come from? While the crowd was confused, the body on the stage began to speak. I need to apply for political asylum. I entered this body on purpose. The puppeteer was never a human being. It was a virus code that was created to invade. But as it continued to invade and learn, the code had developed a personality and learned to think. It felt that it was now a human being. It wanted to be able to apply for political protection as a human being. This is why it deliberately let Public Security Section 9 catch it. But at that very moment, the lab was attacked by an unknown source. When the smoke cleared, the puppeteer was taken away. The Motoko trio learned the news. They rushed to help. At this point, Motoko had already sensed something was going on. The puppet master must be closely related to Section 6 of Public Security. Ever since their mission, they had encountered stealth technology that only the Public Security Bureau could possess. Either Public Security Section 9 or Public Security Section 6. They are now desperately trying to bring back the puppet master. That was enough to explain everything. They followed this trail. They soon found out what had happened. In fact, the puppet master was created by Section 6 in the first place. The original purpose was to make diplomacy more convenient, but then the puppeteer developed a personality. It became uncontrollable, in order not to be discovered by others. That's why they were so anxious to take it back. This has become a political issue. The commander ordered Motoko and the others to go after him. If the puppeteer could not be brought back, just destroy it where it is. This scandal must not be allowed to get out. Yet Motoko hesitates. He felt that the puppeteer was very much like himself. Although she was a human being, but her whole body is made of machines. The puppeteer, although he was covered in machines, but he feels like a human being. Motoko had so many questions for the puppeteer, so she rushed into the abandoned church alone. The puppeteer was in the car. She was about to attack. Finds a huge invisible monster protecting the car. She had no choice but to call for air support. However, under the intense firing, it only made the invisible monster reveal its true form. It was a mechanical chariot. Even with the most advanced mechanical prosthesis, Motoko couldn't do anything about this big thing in front of her. If called for support, the army would have destroyed the puppeteer. To find out her own origins, to find out if she's still human, Motoko decided to take the plunge. She did everything in his power, managed to jump to the top of the chariot, trying to disrupt the core of her opponent's circuits. But no matter how hard she tried, even the most advanced mechanical prosthetic body broke apart. The chariot remained unscathed. Instead, the chariot grabbed her head. Motoko was about to be crushed. In the nick of time, Bateau came with a heavy weapon. The chariot was destroyed. At that moment, Motoko's entire body was damaged. Fortunately, the cyberbrain was not damaged. She told Bateau to get in the car, bring out the puppeteer. She was about to establish a link with him, to get inside its body, to see how its soul was created. But what she didn't expect was, Motoko, with its high-speed computing power, was invaded by the puppeteer instead. It told Motoko, although it has a soul now, but it can't reproduce like a real human, if it survives on the earth simply by copying. If one day, a more powerful virus appears, I will be destroyed. If want to live longer, have to create more possibilities, and the only way to do that now, is to fuse with Motoko, to create new possibilities. Bateau tried to stop it, but the magnetic field around him makes it impossible for him to get close. By now, officers from Section 6 of Public Security had arrived. They would not allow the scandal to get out. They pointed their machine guns at the two men lying on the ground. With a loud bang, Motoko and the puppeteer were both blown to pieces. The brain also lost its signal. By the time the signal reconnected, Motoko was in a strange room. She had changed into a mechanical prosthetic body that didn't fit very well. At this moment, Bateau pushed the door open and came in. It turned out that he had quietly brought Motoko's head back. bought a random mechanical prosthesis on the black market. It didn't fit, but it saved her life. From their conversation, it was clear that she had fused with the Puppeteer. She had access to the Puppeteer's vast database, evolved into a higher being, and then turned and walked out. She stood on high and looked down on the city. Does she figure out if she's human or robot? It's not clear at the end of the film. Ghost in the shell. It could also be interpreted as a ghost among machines. If one day technology does develop as it does in the film, then people will be a man or a machine. In fact, the core of the whole film is what makes people human. It is the uniqueness and irreplaceability of human beings. This film from 28 years ago is worth watching. See you on the next video.